Welcome to our podcast. This is Friends on Fire.
I'm Mike. I'm a lifelong devotee of financial independence. I even wrote a book about it.
And I'm Maggie, a newer convert, but just as passionate, especially on the intersection of minimalism and financial independence.
We're one and the same.
We are two like-minded friends who believe that talking about money with your friends and family opens the door to financial well-being.
The Friends on Fire podcast is about dispelling myths, building financial acumen, and sharing your financial independence journey with the people you care about.
This is Friends on Fire.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Maggie.
Love is in the air. It's February 1st. It's time to, people are thinking about, you're like, what are you talking about?
I was just thinking, the last time you asked me, you were like, do you know what's in the air? And I'm like, COVID? So I'm not sure if love is in the air.
You're right,
COVID's
sorry.
definitely still in the air.
COVID is in the air, but there's also still, there's maybe more love in the air during the month of February.
People trying their best to
Yes.
be romantic in a very
Yes.
dark pandemic era.
Yes, very true. Be romantic with 6 feet of distance between everybody.
That's right.
So we thought with Valentine's Day right around the corner that we would talk about love and how to show your love without spending a lot of money. Because I don't know if you, Mike, I know you're always kind of in the minority here, but a lot of people think that to show your love, you have to buy lavish gifts and spend a lot of money. And that's how they show their love. They think that's how someone else wants to receive their love. And it's just not true.
And that is because people are conditioned by advertisers to think that. You know, it kind of reminds me of, you know, those Christmas commercials where the husband or the wife surprises the other one with a brand new car with like a big bow on it.
Uh-huh. Yep.
There was a Saturday Night Live skit where the husband shows up with a new Lexus and the wife is like, what the fuck are you thinking? Like, why did you go buy this car? And it devolves into this huge argument.
I love it.
I don't know where I was going with that, but the point is, like, you might be conditioned to think that people want gifts, but that is not always what people want, and you could end up doing some damage buying something expensive.
Yeah, and we'll talk about communication later, but I'll give you an example that I've not seen that SNL skit, but a similar one is for anybody, well, my husband at some point learned, and anyone who's ever dated me learned, if you send me flowers like through a delivery service, I will be like polite and appreciative, but I'll also be like, please do not ever spend that amount of money on me again. Because it's such a waste. Like, it's really expensive to have flowers delivered to somebody. And I'm like, well, you could just like go, I mean, if you really want to get me flowers, like, you know, go to Costco or like spend 10 or 15 bucks at the store and put them on the counter yourself. But having them like delivered to my office to, you know, send a message, like, it's cute and it's sweet, but it's so overpriced. My response is like the woman from that SNL skit of like, what were you thinking?
How many courting gentlemen have you had send you flowers at the office like this?
Well, now that you say it that way, not that many, but I did. Like in college, I like a person or two might have sent me flowers. I think someone actually sent me flowers in high school, but I'm remarried, as you know, so I've had 2 husbands. Both of them at some point have sent me flowers with delivery, and I've very, you know, made it very politely clear. And in communication, we'll talk about in a little while, but it's important to know that, like, for me, that's actually like kind of a negative thing, because I'm like, well, I just feel like you wasted a bunch of money, and it was, you know, like I want you to know that doesn't matter to me, so you don't ever need to do that again. So anyways, we'll get into it. But the point is,
I know what you mean. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah. All that flashy set. For anyone else who just wants to send me flowers, like, go for it. Actually, I wouldn't want you, anyone, even if it was like a big fan of the show and they were like, wanted to show their appreciation to us, like, make a donation to a charity. Like, do not send Mike or I flowers through a delivery service. Let it be known.
This is definitely a Maggie type episode, so I'm going to let you take the lead on this one.
Okay.
Kick us off.
So the first thing we're going to talk about today is love languages. And I think this is important, Mike. Have you heard of love languages?
Yes, last year you had me and Britta do the survey.
Okay. So I'm pulling mine up now. Because
I'm pulling mine up now too.
I roughly remember them. Let's first talk about what the love languages are. This thing called the Love Languages was created by somebody, I don't know who, but there is a free online quiz that you can take, and it's at 5lovelanguages.com. We'll put a link to the website in the show notes. And the idea is it asks you all these questions, and then in the end, it's going to tell you the sort of order and ranking and like score across each of the 5 love languages. And the 5 love languages are physical touch, words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, and receiving gifts.
Now, Maggie, I'm not sure if maybe I just didn't hear you correctly, but it sounded like you dropped the D off of words. It's not wars of affirmation. It's words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation.
Okay.
And not just one word, but multiple words. So the idea is that you take this quiz. It tells you what yours are, again, with these scorings. And ideally also do it with your partner, right? So you actually can have your kids do this. You can have your parents do this. You can have anyone do it. But you and your partner both take it. And you have some dialogue around it too, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a minute. But I think it'd be fun for Mike for us to both share our love languages and the scores associated with them.
Okay.
Why don't you go first?
I will go first. In order, quality time, 11.
Okay.
Words of affirmation, 8. Physical touch, 5. Acts of service, 4. Receiving gifts, 2.
Okay. I like it. It's what I would expect for you in terms of like gifts being at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And what were your top 2 again?
Quality time and words of affirmation.
Quality time and words of, well, I give you a lot of quality time. I need to make sure I give you enough words of affirmation. So here are my 5. Physical touch, 10. Acts of service, 9. Words of affirmation, 7. Quality time, 5. And receiving gifts, 0. Which, yeah, it's spot on, right? And I can't even remember the specific questions that they asked, but I feel like for mine, it is spot on to what I believe is true. I'm surprised physical touch is so high because sometimes I don't want anyone to touch me, but I do really love acts of service. Like that's the one, if I were to self-identify, like you want the way to my heart, you like fold the laundry or like wash the dishes or do something for me that I'm stressed out about and need to be done. Like that is how you can show your love to me.
And that is Britta's number 1 when she took this quiz.
Yeah. What was gifts on hers?
Last.
And that's a perfect example to say, okay, the idea is go take this quiz, share and discuss the results with your partner, and then have some open communication and dialogue, right? Because some of the things that we're going to talk about today, if your partner really does love to receive gifts, we're not saying don't buy them gifts. You know, we'll talk about some ideas for how to keep the costs under control. But if you know that receiving gifts is at the bottom and that they really love acts of service, well, that's great for your budget because it's great for your budget and your relationship, to be clear, because you can show your love in ways that do not cost a lot of money and just take your time, your service, your touch, etc. And so we'll talk through some different ideas on that. But let's kind of go through just some different points to remember when you are giving gifts that can, I think, help get you in the right mindset and frame of mind of what's important and how to show your love.
The first thing, which is a cliche, but it's a cliche because it's true, is that it is the thought that counts. You believe that, right, Maggie?
I really do, yeah.
Because I thought about getting you some stuff for Christmas and I didn't, but, you know.
Yeah, it's the thought that counts. But I mean, you're right. It's not really just a saying. I mean, it is a saying, but it's true. Like even when we were talking about returning gifts and stuff, like a lot of times people don't know what to give somebody, but they really are. They're trying. They're making an effort.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, remember, even from the giver, which is what we're talking about here, that it is the thought that counts. And so you do not need to spend a lot of money, which brings us to the next point. I actually believe that if you're with someone who has such a high demand for needing to receive expensive and lavish gifts, it's a sign that perhaps something isn't really right in your relationship, right? If that's all they care about, right? So, and again, I'm not saying there could be someone where receiving gifts is very high, but it doesn't mean it needs to be, really expensive. I think the idea is that early on in a relationship, there could be a lot of pressure to like shower someone with gifts, especially during a time of year like Valentine's Day. But I would actually argue that it's one of the most important times to kind of rein it in and like be yourself, right? So if you're living on a budget, don't go into debt to show off and, get all these expensive things for somebody that you're trying to court. Is that an old-fashioned word?
Well, I just finished watching Bridgerton on Netflix, and so I'm like really into that now.
I like it. Yeah, well, so, don't feel like you need to go into a lot of debt. And I actually think gifts can be very distracting in an early stage in a relationship, right? So strip all that away, figure out if you're truly compatible with someone and what someone's values are and what they care about, and make sure it aligns to your values. And look, if someone doesn't like you because you're on a budget and you're trying to pay off your student loans and you want to show your love in more budget friendly ways, like that to me is a sign that that may not be the right person. If that's their, their thing. And so I think there's a lot to be said for just, early on in a relationship, setting the tone and boundaries and almost using it as a little bit of like a test with that person. If you're at that stage in a relationship.
And I think the important part of what you said was you want to try to align on your interests more so than your kind of interest in stuff. And so when you are new in a relationship, your activities and the way that you impress people is by sharing certain aspects about your life, your passions, your hobbies. So going on dates that are going for a hike, doing certain things versus going and buying somebody something, because it is terribly impersonal and doesn't really tell you about the person. And so if you are building a relationship off of the stuff that you are buying for each other, there is all of this underlying knowledge about the other person that you are missing.
Yeah, very true. Another tip or recommendation would be consider your budget and lifestyle and consider gifts that fit within that. So an example would be, if you're making a lot of money and you've got plenty in savings and you're doing really great and you've paid off all your debt and you want to give your partner some lavish, extravagant gift that they've been wanting or that is kind of spoiling them for something, like go for it and don't feel any guilt about it. I think the point is when you're not in that position, like if you're in a bunch of debt, if you are trying to save up for other more important goals in your life, could be your kid's education, it could be paying off debt, paying off your mortgage, whatever might be important to you at that time, then that's when you should be thinking of these more budget friendly ways, right? And so consider your budget and lifestyle when you're making these decisions, which I think we would say that about most things, right? Like,
I think we say about everything.
Yeah, right. Every category would fall into that, right? And so again, I think to me, a lot of it is if you have the money and it's not causing other issues in your life, then feel free to splurge every now and then. Like we all do it. It's great. And it, again, if that's what your partner cares about and is something that's going to make them happy, go for it. But if you're in a ridiculous amount of debt and you're trying to dig yourself out of it, that's when some more budget-friendly ideas would be, really good to consider. And we'll get into some ideas of what those are.
The next thing to consider is that the best gifts take some time to think about, because nothing shows that you care about somebody more than giving of your time, because that is the most precious resource we have. And so think about what it is that they love and value, and then spend some time working on that. No matter what you do, if it shows that you took the time to do it, they're going to love it. Another
tip I would offer related to that, Mike, is you don't have to do it all on your own. So if you were just at a loss of what to give somebody or what would make them happy right now, go ask their friends, right? Like I've had good friends, husbands ask me for ideas for their wives. And it's a great thing to do. Like go phone a friend, right? You don't have to have all the ideas yourself. Ask their parents, ask their friends, ask somebody else that knows them. Ask your friends for just, even if they don't know them, like ask some of your friends for ideas and of what they've done that their partners have enjoyed. Because I think sometimes you think, the pressure is all on you, but you certainly can, use the resources around you. Google things for, go to Pinterest and like look for different ideas. And I think, the last point is I'm a big fan of this. Show your love year round, not just on the obligatory holidays like Valentine's Day. So if you really want to do something like a little special, even just for this Valentine's Day as an example, like surprise them on February 12th with something, to make them happy and something special. Like, it doesn't have to be on Valentine's Day. You might want to also do something on Valentine's Day if they care about that kind of stuff. But I know for me, I would rather have somebody do something nice and special for me on a regular day than on one of the obligatory holidays, because it means more. But that's a personal thing.
because it means that they are thinking about you without being prompted by advertisers.
But yeah, by Hallmark, that Hallmark didn't remind them to tell me that they love me. So yeah, I love the, random day of someone doing something nice and kind. My husband reminds me every day that he loves me when he gives me the act of service, which is washing the dishes. Okay, so let's go through each of the 5 categories of love languages, and we're going to talk about some ideas and some just, quick inspiration for how you could show your love in that category without spending a lot of money or without spending any money in many cases. Let's start with physical touch. Mike, what you got?
All right. You can give the person a massage. You can plan a snuggle on the couch. Snuggling, Maggie, I know one of your favorite activities.
Uh-huh. Are you being serious or sarcastic?
No, you talk about it all the time.
I really do like to snuggle.
Yes, of course. Yes, I know this about you. Remember when we talked about your 5 greatest passions in life, and 3 of them involved you staying in bed?
Yep.
All right. So where was I?
Snuggling.
Yeah. Snuggle on the couch in front of a movie and
pull up a rom-com.
Yeah. I mean, if you're into that sort of thing.
Well, it doesn't. If you're not into it, pull up a rom-com that your partner is going to be excited about. My husband sometimes would be like, "There's a new rom-com that came out on Netflix. I know he doesn't really want to watch it. Mm-hmm. He's pulling it up for me," and I'm like, "That is so sweet."
Or it's even better if you find a rom-com that you both enjoy.
Yes, I think he actually enjoys it. I'm just saying it wouldn't be like his first choice.
You should watch Bridgerton together. Have you seen it?
I have not seen it.
It's so good and funny.
Really?
You need to watch it.
Is it a romantic show? I know it's like a period show.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you two will love it.
Okay.
This is my gift to you for Valentine's Day.
Appreciate it.
And then obviously, if you're on the couch and it leads to something more, that's also some physical touch that goes a long way.
Yeah, there's physical touch. We don't need to spell it out for you, but it's free. You just need the two of you to do it. So, the other thing I would say about this category, and all of them really, is when you do something, don't just be like, "Oh, hey, honey, I'm going to give you a massage. Lay down. Let's do this." Make it a special event. You could perhaps buy some massage oil that's nice. You could light a candle. You could kind of prep the area in advance. You could just make it special. So be thoughtful about the small touches and details, and think ahead to make it a nice experience, because most of those things don't cost any money. It just means you need to plan ahead and kind of think about how to make it a special experience. And I think those details are what make something that much more special for the person receiving it. Okay, let's talk about the next one, words of affirmation. So on this one, you could write a love letter. You could write a poem, even a cheesy poem that's rhyming, looks, like a little kid wrote it or something.
Wait, let's hold up on this. If Greg wrote you a poem today that was roses are red, violets are blue, Maggie's the best, and I love you. Awesome, I love you. Would that really impress you?
Well, if it wasn't quite that short and sweet, but if he even if it was cheesy and his rhyming was, just a little silly at times, but he wrote out something that was thoughtful and caring, I would be like, that's really sweet. I appreciate you doing that. My pet peeve is if someone ever gives me a card, a card bot. I don't even like store bought cards. I prefer you make something or just write it on a nice piece of paper or note card. But if you just buy a store bought card and write at the end love Maggie, I hate it. Right? Because you didn't even write me a message in there, right? Tell me something that Hallmark did not write in there for you. And so the idea is write a poem, make and write a beautiful card with just a very heartfelt note, and then sit them down and tell them how you feel about them. Sit down, look them in the eyes and say, I just want to take a moment to tell you how much I appreciate you and our life, whatever it is, and be specific. If your person cares about words of affirmation, that is one that is so easy to be completely free and can be really meaningful. Again, put a little bit of thought, make a nice card, whatever you want to do there.
Number 3, quality time, which is number 1 on my list, is a block of focused time where you can spend together. It can be going out, it can be staying in, but it is about putting your phone away and focusing your attention on each other. And I think that's number 1 for me, and probably pretty high for most, married couples with kids, especially because time is in such high demand and low supply when you have little kids running around all the time. And so the reason it's most important to me is just because I really value the moments where I don't have responsibilities, I don't have distractions, and I can just spend time with my wife.
Yeah, that's nice. And again, same point we've made on the other ones, right? If you're going to plan some quality time, like going on a hike or doing something that your partner really enjoys doing, put a little bit of thought into it. So don't say, hey, we're going to go on a hike, and then look at them and be like, can you pack some snacks for us? Right? Like have everything ready. Be like, look, I prepared everything we need. We're going to leave at 10 a.m. All I need you to do is be ready. Because then it's a little bit of like quality time, acts of service. It's all of that wrapped into one.
And speaking of acts of service, Maggie?
Yeah, I mean, acts of service, that is my number one. Oh, actually, technically it's my number two, but it's
but you think it's your number one. It's
almost a tie with physical touch. Yeah, I would rank it above physical touch. I would rather you wash the dishes than touch me. So this is another one that does not need to cost any money, right? This is washing the dishes. This is, cleaning the house, folding the laundry. This is when someone that you love has had a tough day or a tough week, and you're home early one day, cleaning, getting the house spotless so that when they walk in the door, it looks amazing. Like my husband, it's been a while since I've traveled without him because of COVID, but every now and then, like I would travel for work and he was home, and he knows, even when we travel together, like I always need the house to be like spotless when we leave because I want to return home to a clean house. And so he knows that when I come home from a trip, like I'm so happy when the house is like spotless versus it like stresses me out when I walk in the house and it's like a mess. And so that's an act of service that like there's been times that I've come back in town and I can tell he's gone like above and beyond to clean the house. And so, if there's some project that you've not finished in a long time and the parts to it have been sitting in a corner and your partner has been, annoyed by it, like finish that project, right? Finish that thing you were supposed to fix around the house, whatever it might. Think about what matters to that person and sometimes even ask them, right? Back to this, like it could be every day. If your partner cares about acts of service and they seem stressed out one day, like look at them and sit down with a moment of focus and say like, what could I do to help you this week? Like what would be helpful? I want to do something to help you. You tell me like the top 3 things that would be most helpful to you. If someone said that to me, I could easily rattle some stuff off. Hint, hint.
I feel like this whole episode is you sending a message to your husband, like some specific instructions.
Funny. Well, there's actually, I was going to talk about a couple of real ideas that we've done recently. And one of them is something that I'm actually doing for my husband on Valentine's Day this year. And I was like, I think it'll be safe because he doesn't typically listen to these episodes like right away.
Mm-hmm. So what is it?
So this actually goes in words of affirmation, or actually you could put it in the receiving gifts category. So, I read this on Joel O'Leary, who we interviewed. He does like a daily email, 5 a.m. Joel. Do you remember this email where he had the idea about the 100 Days book?
I don't remember.
So you may not have signed up for his emails at this point, but he has, I don't remember the date, but on the day that was 100 days from Valentine's Day, he put out an idea that he had done previously. Either his wife had done it for him or he had done it for her. And it was to do a little journal for 100 days where every day you write down something that you love and appreciate about your spouse on that day. And then in 100 days, it's Valentine's Day. And so I've been keeping it for the past like 80 days. And I've got like another 15 or 20 days to write in it. And I've been writing down. It actually kind of like makes me like and appreciate my husband too. Because every day I'm thinking of something that he does. And I'm like, hey, we did this today and you did this. And I really appreciate it. It's one of the many reasons I love you. And so it's just a little like journal entry. And I decorated the front of it a little bit. And so it's like a 100-day book. And it's a good one that's like, it's an actual gift I'm going to hand him. So it's something that he can, touch and feel. But it's really words of affirmation. And it's totally free. And I think it will be really special and make him really happy. I hope he doesn't listen to this. And then you did something for Britta for Christmas that we talked about briefly.
Yeah, I did the coupon book and I had like 50 coupons with all kinds of stuff, including things that were, definitely just acts of service type activities, which I know she appreciates, but also some other special things like trips or taking a nice bath that she never gets to do, that sort of stuff.
Is she cashed in any of her coupons yet?
So she's cashed in one. Here's kind of a funny story. So she was like, I would like to cash in a coupon for the bath with a glass of champagne. And when we have some nice bath salts. And so I was like, this is great. And then I went and got the champagne and got all ready. And then she just poured herself a bath and took it without telling me.
Oh.
So I think she just needed kind of like the permission to take a break.
I think she was just
do
saying, I'm going to go take a
yeah.
bath.
So I heard like the water draining out and I came upstairs and I was like, I wanted to prepare this for you. And she's like, oh yeah, well, sorry. Thank you.
That's funny. Well, then I would reuse that coupon if I were her. It was like a half, I'd like a rain check on that one.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the last category, our least favorite category, but I know
Yes.
important to some people, receiving gifts. So if someone does want to receive gifts, consider gifts that are smaller and more thoughtful and don't need to be really expensive and cost a lot of money. So the coupon book that's an example. That's a gift, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you should have an idea if your partner would appreciate and enjoy something like that versus if there's something else, right? That 100-day kind of journal idea is another one. And again, like we talked about in the very beginning, the gift should be within your budget and lifestyle. So if you have a ton of money and you're doing great, go for it and splurge if you really want to and if it's important.
If it's important to the person receiving the gift.
To the person receiving it. Don't do it because you're trying to show off or, portray yourself a certain way. On that note, the other thing that I would say on the actual gifts category is one way that I like to kind of focus gifts when I am buying something for someone, and I actually did this for my husband like a few years ago for Valentine's Day, is buy something you need, but that might be a little bit of a splurge. So like I bought new Brooklyn sheets, which I absolutely love, like amazing quality. It was a little bit more than I would typically spend on sheets.
How much were they?
But it was like I also bought a new comforter. But I don't know, like a few $100
for sheets.
Yeah, and a comforter. I mean, comforters are expensive. You think that's expensive?
I don't know.
Anyways, they're amazing. It's like hotel quality sheets. I literally feel like I'm sleeping at a hotel every night, and they're all white and it's beautiful. I love it. My point is that is something that I'm using and consuming and is, adding to my lifestyle and my enjoyment and happiness every day. And so, I always think of people who like buy someone like a vacuum. Like don't buy something for someone that implies they need to like do more work around the house. That can sometimes like piss somebody off.
Oh, I disagree.
Well, it depends who it is. This is why you should know your partner.
Some of the best gifts I've gotten were like power tools and stuff to go fix stuff around the house. I love
that's
it.
fair. That's fair. There is sometimes like, remember Peloton got so much flack for their ad last year?
Oh yeah.
That implied that you should get like your wife a Peloton to lose some weight.
Yep.
I didn't even
It was
read
uncomfortable.
their ad that way. I didn't actually
like the woman was trapped in her house.
Yeah,
by
I
her
didn't
husband.
interpret the ad as negatively as many people did. But that's a good example of, right, like be careful about, making sure that it is a gift that, like, yes, if you're trying to encourage your spouse to lose weight, like, or you think they might need to, do not get them like a piece of exercise equipment as a gift unless they're asking for it, because that could be very offensive and backfire.
Yes.
As Peloton now knows. Okay, let's wrap this up. We hope this has been helpful and inspiring. We can cover our top 3 takeaways.
All right.
One, by the way.
Number 1, it doesn't cost money to show your love.
Number 2, learn your and your partner's love language and use that knowledge for good.
And number 3, it is the thought that counts. So take time to think about thoughtful gifts and consider all the details to make that gift special.
Okay, well, like we said, we hope this helps you for Valentine's Day and for many other holidays and just every day. And also, I hope it encourages you to go take the love languages quiz with your partner, because it can really be just a great, make a little date night of it. Be like, we're going to take the quiz. You get the results back right away. And then you can talk through it and, do it over a glass of wine, a meal, wherever you guys like to sit and talk. But it can make a, just special moment to kind of learn more about your spouse. And even if you took this like 10 years ago, but you can't remember it and you guys haven't discussed it, like bring it back up and say like, hey, let's kind of like talk about it and just understand what is important to us at this point in our lives. Because I think communication in relationships in general is it's not just I think, there's a lot of research that supports this, is one of the most important things for a successful relationship. And communicating about gifts and what someone's expectations are is also something that can be really important and beneficial to get on the same page about.
So thanks everybody for listening. If you've been challenged or inspired by what you've heard, please rate and review the show. You can also subscribe to make sure you never miss an episode.
Awesome. And if you have any thoughts or questions, we would always love to hear from you. You can leave us a voicemail or text us at 404 981-3370, or you can always hit us up on Instagram or Facebook.
Thanks, Maggie. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thanks, Mike. Bye.
Bye.